So hello, James. Thank you very much for being with us today. Summer's flown by and here we are. It's la rentrée, as we call it in French, with us all resuming a new normal with our progressive return to full-time on-site work. So in this interview that we've prepared, we're hoping to address as many questions as possible that are arising around the plans for this gradual return to work and the changes to the telework context, given the still evolving situation surrounding coronavirus. On that note, can you tell us more about this context and why these decisions have been taken?
Hello, everyone, and it's a pleasure to be here to answer these questions. So, since the start of the pandemic, CERN's highest priority has always been and remains the health and safety of its people. This is why the ramp-up has been so gradual, spanning so many months. As the Director General explained in her video message, since mid-May, CERN has followed a carefully planned, staged return with due care, monitoring and vigilance with regards to what continues to really be an uncertain and evolving context. So given this situation, the return has been more gradual than what was initially foreseen, but this has allowed us to take the steps we're taking now with confidence that we're doing so safely. Collaboration with the host states, HSE, staff association, and in particular, each and every service across the site has been key for us to arrive at this time with a sufficient level of confidence that the health and safety of everyone can be guaranteed. In this context, I'd just like to mention that today nobody has been contaminated during work on site. It's important now for all of us across the organization following this period, which has really been unprecedented and challenging for everyone, to start reconnecting with our workplace, with each other, in a context of fairness across the teams, in the return to on-site activities, but whilst preserving the health and safety for each and all of us.
So you're speaking of confidence that it's safe for us all to return. The situation throughout Europe is, as we speak, a concern, and in light of the past month's experience, it can be argued that teleworking has been as productive, if not more, in many parts of the organization. So we should continue until indicators are more positive to preserve the safety of those who have to be on site. Can you expand on this?
Indeed, no decision's taken lightly. This decision really takes into account all possible parameters: the evolution of the pandemic, the situation of the host states, and more widely, the enhanced health and safety measures on site, which are very well followed by everyone, the space organization, the services and the safe operation, as well as what other organizations in the local area are doing, and so much more. That's why today we are ready to welcome everyone back on site safely to resume full operations at a minimum 50% presence, where possible with a sense of normality. Long-term full-time teleworking isn't really an option. The virus looks like it's here to stay. We're all learning to live with it, and we've all resumed a social life, meeting family with possible, with friends, going to the restaurants. Even schools have restarted in Switzerland last week and this week in France. So the organization's duty of care is to ensure a safe working environment for all, which we're achieving collaboratively and effectively. CERN continuously reviews and applies the strictest measures of the host states to date and will continue to do so. Furthermore, we meet weekly with other organizations locally. Many of them have already resumed more than 50% on site as early as July, and like CERN, are going step by step in the ramp up.
So pragmatically, we're speaking of telework in particular, flexible working, and the work organization in general for all of us. The Pulse survey showed how well people adjusted to telework, and the subsequent survey among supervisors confirmed the desire to expand the existing framework on a larger scale. So why not continue where it is possible to do so?
So you may recall a little over 5 months ago, CERN entered safe mode. That required the majority of us to stay home and begin a regime of telework. Looking back, I've got to say I'm impressed and proud at the agility and flexibility that each and every one of us has showed in this process, which went very quickly. In collaboration with management, the Staff Association, HSE, and all the services around CERN, HR implemented the necessary framework with exceptional measures to ensure flexible working as far as possible for those activities that allowed it, enabling those whose functions were essential for the safety and security of the site and equipment to work on site with as minimal risk as possible as the pandemic evolved. CERN adapted its framework to each and every one of us on the payroll to adjust in their respective work and personal contexts while ensuring operations could continue in the best possible way. Our presence on site, though, is essential for the collaborative nature of the work we do, and reconnecting is important for our well-being too. We've all enjoyed resuming our social lives outside work in a more normal setting after lockdown, and coming back to work is really no different. We also have to acknowledge that long-term telework doesn't suit everyone. Many people thrived on it, others didn't. Others couldn't telework at all due to the nature of their activities. Many teleworked from further afield during safe work mode. So it's really time for everyone to come back to the local area now. Today, we're reviewing this framework to adapt it to the situation in the context it is now. With a gradual return to full-time on-site presence for all, we have to be agile again together. And that's why the decision has been taken for a minimum of 50% presence for everyone, based on the specific context that applies to each individual, each service, and operational needs.
So how is this minimum 50% on-site presence going to be implemented concretely?
Well, the very different nature of activities throughout the organization means the needs are different and there's no one size fits all. Those who are working 100% on site, or at least more than 50% due to the nature of their work, should continue to do so. Those who are teleworking and already on site for more than 50% of their time, perhaps because the on-site presence is more effective or for the operational needs, should also continue to do so. Those who can telework and aren't strictly needed on site for operational reasons should come onto site for at least 50% of their working time. And then there are key exceptions. Some of us are vulnerable or living with people classed as such. Some may be in quarantine or living with people who are observing quarantine. So we have to take all the necessary measures to accommodate each and every circumstance. Agility is key in the form of an adaptable approach to find optimal solutions for each and every person, situation with dedicated telework agreements, support structures, and absence management frameworks that the administrative services will support, monitor, and implement. All departments are equipped and prepared to ensure that safe workspace arrangements, as are the hostels, cafeterias, and all common areas where we can at last look forward to informal exchanges, at the corner of a corridor, the foot of a stairwell. After so many months of Zoom and video meetings like this, these will of course continue where safe physical distancing can't be ensured, but nothing really beats the collaborative spirit that we have at CERN. For me, an in-person, hello, how are you, works wonders. So when I'm at CERN, I see people diligently applying the mask wearing, the physical distancing. It's kind of become our new normal, just as it has been in our daily lives, shopping, restaurants, public transport, etc.
It's true that in our daily lives we are adjusting to all this, but there's still this question around this 50% of maximum telework. So if it's confirmed as a necessity, for example, if for the space that does not comply to allow office sharing, how can we modulate it, and are the provisions applicable to everybody?
I think you've hit on a real challenge, Anna. If we said everybody's off-site, it's very clear. Everybody on site is very clear as well. 50% is a bit of black and white, and it's a bit like the glass being half full and half empty. And some people are going to see the glass half empty and others as half full. The framework aims to be flexible and has to be implemented in lines with the service. And as I mentioned, there's no one size fits all. It can be modulated on a weekly basis, on a fortnightly basis. Again, looking at the flexibility, the space situation, the office situation, we need to find whatever is the most suitable that suits the service.
Okay, so it's context-based, it's person-based, it's flexible, it really is modulated for everybody. And can you confirm, therefore, whom it applies to and how long is it going to apply?
It's a good question. So certainly it applies to everyone that's remunerated on CERN's payroll, the employed members of personnel, staff members, fellows, MPAs for training, students, associates, project associates. In terms of how long, well, it's difficult to set an end date because it's an ever-evolving context. We'll monitor the situation at CERN and around, and we'll keep adapting as necessary and inform everyone in a timely manner.
So James, in light of all of this, there are still people who feel anxious, and what message would you have for them in their return to site?
I tell them we're here to support, listen, and find solutions together. If you do have concerns, please discuss them. Discuss them with your hierarchy, with the services around, all of the support structures, of which there are many. As I just said, there's no one size fits all, and our framework for teleworking, flexible work arrangements, absence management is really as comprehensive as possible to accommodate every possible need. All services are really operating with the health and safety of all of us as their utmost priority. The measures we've put in place so far have been proven to be efficient and no on-site contamination, as I mentioned, and I trust that everyone on site will continue to do what's necessary to keep it this way.
So in light of everything that we have just covered, what would you say are the next steps?
I think we're all looking forward to seeing people coming back to those rich informal exchanges and those typical interactions that characterize CERN as our workplace. But of course, while keeping our ears close to the ground, watching the evolution of the pandemic, and to take the necessary corrective actions should the situation change suddenly. There are many people and services working behind the scenes on what's a well-orchestrated and diligent approach. At the end of September, our Director General and directors will host a town hall meeting where all the questions based on the experience of the first few weeks of gradual return can be raised, and we'll be there to answer, reassure, and work together to maintain CERN as a safe place to work.
So thank you, James. That's a key milestone, therefore, at the end of September, and we can look forward to that occasion to answer any further questions or ask any further questions. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us today.
Thank you, and thank you to all of you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.